What if forgiveness wasn't about letting someone off the hook, but about freeing yourself? In forgiving what you can't forget, discover how to move on, make peace with painful memories, and create a life that's beautiful again. Lysa TerKeurst delves into the deep, often misunderstood journey of forgiveness. She invites readers to reconsider what it means to forgive, presenting it not as an act of condoning harm, but as a courageous choice to release emotional burdens. This is the story of how I confronted my pain, wrestled with the complexities of forgiveness, and found a path to healing and peace that reshaped my understanding of grace and strength. TerKeurst begins by dismantling common misconceptions about forgiveness. It's not about excusing harm, forgetting the pain, or even reconciling with the person who hurt you. Instead, forgiveness is a deliberate decision to release bitterness and reclaim your emotional freedom. Forgiveness, she explains, is not about the forgiven. It's about the forgiver, about choosing peace over resentment and refusing to let past wounds dictate your present. I started reflecting on the grudges I held and the weight they carried. Each one seemed to weave itself into my daily thoughts, influencing my emotions and actions. TerKeurst's perspective helped me see that my anger and resentment were only deepening my wounds. Forgiveness wasn't about condoning the wrong, but about loosening the grip of pain on my heart and mind. It became clear that forgiveness was less about them and more about me, about reclaiming my power and peace. This chapter taught me that forgiveness is a profound act of self-liberation. By letting go of bitterness, we create space for healing, hope, and a renewed sense of freedom to live fully in the present. Before forgiveness can begin, TerKeurst emphasizes the importance of acknowledging the pain. Naming the hurt allows us to confront it honestly and process it fully. She explains that avoidance only prolongs suffering, while facing the pain head-on is the first step toward genuine healing. I started journaling about my deepest wounds, putting words to feelings I had buried for years. This process was difficult, sometimes overwhelming, but ultimately cathartic. Naming the pain brought clarity and allowed me to understand the depth of my hurt. As I peeled back layers of denial and avoidance, I began to see patterns in how my unresolved pain shaped my reactions and relationships. TerKeurst's guidance reminded me that facing the pain, though uncomfortable, was essential for moving forward. This chapter taught me that healing begins with honesty and vulnerability. By acknowledging the hurt without judgment or suppression, I could start dismantling its power over my life and begin building a stronger foundation for emotional well-being. Forgiveness often feels impossible because of the longing for justice. TerKeurst acknowledges this tension and explains that forgiveness doesn't negate accountability. Instead, it's about trusting that ultimate justice lies beyond our control and choosing peace over retribution. She frames forgiveness as an act of surrender rather than a declaration of defeat. I realized how much of my resentment stemmed from a desire for fairness. The more I clung to the idea of justice as punishment, the more I found myself trapped in anger. TerKeurst's insights helped me see that holding on to bitterness wasn't bringing me justice. It was keeping me tethered to the past. Trusting that justice would prevail, even if not in the way I expected, gave me the courage to release my grip on resentment and focus on my own healing. This chapter reminded me that forgiveness is an act of faith and surrender. By letting go of the need for retribution, I could find a freedom that no external circumstances could provide. TerKeurst outlines a practical process for forgiveness, emphasizing that it's not a one-time decision but an ongoing journey. She encourages readers to take small steps, such as praying for the strength to forgive, journaling their feelings, and intentionally reframing thoughts about the offender. Forgiveness, she explains, is both a choice and a practice. I began taking deliberate steps toward forgiveness, starting with small acts of grace in my thoughts and actions. At first, it felt mechanical, almost insincere, but over time, I noticed subtle shifts in my heart. TerKeurst's process helped me approach forgiveness with patience and self-compassion, recognizing that it was okay to struggle along the way. Each step, no matter how small, was a victory over bitterness. This chapter taught me that forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. By committing to the process, I could begin to heal and move forward with a lighter heart. Forgiveness doesn't erase painful memories, but it transforms how we relate to them. TerKeurst explains that making peace with memories involves reframing them as opportunities for growth and resilience rather than sources of ongoing pain. This shift allows us to see our past not as a weight, but as a teacher. I started revisiting difficult memories with a new perspective, looking for the lessons and strength they had brought me. This practice, inspired by TerKeurst's insights, helped me find meaning in my struggles and begin to see my pain as part of a larger journey toward wholeness. While the scars remained, they became reminders of my resilience rather than symbols of my suffering. This chapter reminded me that memories don't have to define us or keep us stuck. By making peace with the past, we can reclaim our power and focus on building a hopeful future. One of the most challenging aspects of forgiveness is rebuilding trust, especially when relationships are involved. TerKeurst emphasizes that forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same. Trust must be earned over time and may not always be possible. Forgiveness is unconditional, but trust is conditional and requires mutual effort. I began setting boundaries in relationships where trust had been broken, understanding that forgiveness didn't mean immediate reconciliation or a return to the way things were. TerKeurst's distinction between forgiveness and trust helped me navigate these complexities with clarity and self-respect. Trust, I realized, was a separate journey, one that required both patience and discernment. This chapter taught me that forgiveness is about freeing yourself, while trust is about rebuilding connection. By approaching each with intention and wisdom, I could honor my needs and protect my well-being while fostering healthier relationships. In the final chapter, TerKeurst encourages readers to envision a life beyond pain. Forgiveness, she explains, is the gateway to creating a life filled with beauty, purpose, and joy. By letting go of bitterness, we open ourselves to new possibilities, deeper connections, and a renewed sense of hope. I began focusing on the life I wanted to create, one rooted in gratitude, love, and meaning. TerKeurst's message inspired me to dream again, to imagine a future where pain no longer dictated my choices or defined my identity. Forgiveness became not just a practice but a pathway to living fully and authentically. This chapter reminded me that forgiveness is a gift to the future. By releasing the past, we make room for beauty, growth, and the freedom to embrace life with open arms. Forgiving what you can't forget taught me that forgiveness is not about erasing pain, but about reclaiming freedom and rediscovering joy. By naming the hurt, releasing the need for justice, and embracing the process of healing, I began to find peace and purpose beyond the wounds of the past. How can you start your journey toward forgiveness today? Remember, forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to your strength, courage, and resilience.